Have no fear, your relief is here.
What's that?
My dishwashing liquid, a leading one.
It's not my lemony Ajax with real lemon juice.
Lemonade?
See these greasy lamb specials? Ajax will work better.
Yeah?
Let's wash this stack with your liquid, the other with lemony Ajax. How's your last dish?
Ah, feels greasy.
Last Ajax dish is squeaky clean.
Greetings, fellow Earth babies. Welcome to Post-Punk Heartstrings. I'm Jimmy James S. Butler, and we had a little bit of mid-century cleaning fun bringing us in at the top of the episode. I had the privilege of sitting down for a long and enlightening conversation with Stephen Wesley Guiles, lead singer and guitarist for the band Pushstart Wagon in the mid-90s. And they debuted with their album Squeaky Clean, so I thought it would be fun to have a little bit of mid-century cleaning fun at the beginning of the episode. I refer to Stephen and I's conversation as enlightening because as it unfolded, I began to realize more and more how uncannily similar our upbringing, our spiritual journey, and our life outlooks are. I was so taken aback by this that I did an awful lot of listening in our conversation, which is sometimes difficult for me to do. Stephen, on the other hand, did an awful lot of talking and was wonderfully transparent. We had an extremely wonderful and long conversation, and looking back on it, I realized how much Stephen needed to talk and how much I needed to listen. We began by talking about Pushstart Wagon, but we quickly moved into transparency, deconstruction, and the desire to find peace and love and share that with others. As I said, our conversation was quite lengthy, so I've decided to split it up into two parts. So without any further rambling on my part, let's jump into Stephen and I's conversation.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Hey!
I am so sorry.
You are over 10 minutes late. I will now be bashing every musical work you've ever done.
That's fair.
Sorry. I
accept it.
Yeah.
That's the rules.
It's really no problem. It's really
that's the rules. That's how it goes.
It's really.
Oh my gosh! I went to sit down outside. We had a school dance today, so I helped with the school dance and came home and then just made some food. And I was just sitting outside. I'm like, yeah, tonight's really
enjoying
open.
Yourself.
Nice. And I'm like, oh no. I'm really glad you sent that message.
I'm glad you got at least a little relaxation time.
Yeah, no,
in between.
I'm fine. I love talking about music and love.
There's a lot to talk about with your music.
It's
wow. Well, it's not though, but it's awesome. Is what it is. But
there's a lot. I don't even know.
Oh my gosh!
Can find all of it.
It's difficult.
Ridiculous. Yeah,
a lot of it's difficult. But so let's jump in, I guess.
Yeah.
I've kind of been, I messaged you, I've kind of been immersing myself in transitions. And so I want to get to that, but we'll go backwards first and talk about the beginning. I might not even know what the beginning is. So I'm with Stephen Wesley Guiles, and man, I was looking at everything you've done, and I it was kind of one of those things where I followed Pushstart Wagon. We'll talk about the Vegas Nerve a little bit. So I was following all that, and then I kind of just, I don't know, there's so much music,
life,
right?
Children,
the post-punk revival happened in the early 2000s, and I just got to, mesmerized by all that. And like you said, kids, family, everything. But when I was researching for this call, I was like, yowza, you've done a lot. I'll just list off some stuff. There's Pushstart Wagon in the 90s and early 2000s, Vegas Nerve, Friction Bailey, with your wife.
Yeah.
Dove Pilot, which I've listened a little bit. I haven't had time
There's some really good Dove
that.
Pilot stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
That's
excited
a
about
friend of
that.
mine. Yeah.
And that's kind of recent, right? That's still going on or not? Maybe it's hard to tell.
2012
Okay.
to now. So
Okay.
it's sort of a studio.
Here and there.
It's a studio project. Yeah.
Gotcha. So then there's a bunch of solo stuff, which I started getting. I love. And there's Mr. G.
Mr. G. There's
Quite
a deep,
interesting.
scary dive right there.
That's really I dove in a little bit, and I thought I'm getting it over my head with all of not with that, but with all of the plethora of things I had to prepare. I was like, man, I got to start cramming for this thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not possible to cover in one.
Yeah,
which is one research dive.
Right,
and
it's not.
Future Kings of Denmark is one that I actually really like too, and that's another one that is like a studio project with somebody that it's like a co-writer who lives in Ireland, and she writes lyrics and I write music, and that's a whole project that I'm really proud of too.
Future Kings of Denmark.
Future Kings of Denmark.
I want to say I read that in my reading, but there's so much.
It's possible because there's so much. There's so much.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing I didn't realize, you've been a composer for film and television. I saw some of those credits. I don't know, your level of involvement and everything, but there was the Fosters, I think, the Mindy Project.
Shameless, Mindy Project.
Shameless, yes, Shameless.
I want to say how I worked with a music supervisor and composed stuff for them, but it's not as cool as that. One time and one time only, literally the first time I did a official music placement thing, I had something like that where I was communicating with the music supervisor and people on the show to even make something for them. They liked something I did and then wanted something else, and a friend and I composed it within hours, within a day. We had got all this stuff to them. That was really cool, and I thought that was how it would always be, and the rest of it's been a lot of my songs.
Was that your first experience?
That was my first experience, so I'm this is how it goes. Pushstart Wagon had a song in we had a song in The Kardashians season 1. And that makes some royalties every once in a while. It's not a lot. I am not living independently off my music royalties.
That's probably your proudest credit.
It's my proudest credit. I avoided telling people about that for a long time. Now my niece and my daughter were totally into the Kardashians.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I have a song on your show that you like, and no, not my proudest credit, but I'll take it. I'll take the check.
Was it one of the album tracks? Or was it something different?
It was from Pushstart Wagon's second album. It's called Breathing Room, and I love that song. And I don't even know
that album, so I'm lost.
LA Was Our Alamo is a really good album. It's very different. From Squeaky Clean.
No. I know. Okay, so it's Breathing Room's on that album. Yeah, I do know.
Breathing Room. Yeah, Breathing Room is on.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
LA Was Our Alamo. Yeah. If you know all this, I'm really impressed. Even if you are looking at spreadsheets, because there's so much. I know there's so much. If you were to just focus on just even my solo album, my kind of legitimate Stephen Wesley Guiles solo albums, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One's an EP. Yeah, 4 or 5. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the film and television stuff I got into around 2012. And started just I was able to write songs very quickly, and I had learned how to use Pro Tools and was comfortable enough that I could get it to a professional kind of, they call it broadcast quality level. And it was just for me, I love deadlines and challenges, people would say, hey, we're looking for a song that's and they would list 3 artists, and if it was something that I was into, one of them was they wanted something that was kind of in the vein of Phoenix. 1917 or one of their songs, and we made a song called oh God, what's the song? It's like our first Dove Pilot song, Pull Down the Sun. And I love that song. And it's not, I mean, you would never go, oh, this is a Phoenix ripoff, but it's definitely like something to be on the same radio station. And I love that kind of challenge, like to listen, to hear all the parts, and like even like the, you know, I don't know. I love tearing apart a song and like hearing why I love it. You know, it's sort of like it can ruin it for some people. Like there's sometimes where I go to like, I used to attend church all the time. I was a worship leader, and I remember being in church and like watching the worship band was always really hard for me because I'd just be like listening to the music, like analyzing the music sometimes.
You're like picking it apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda.
And that can kill it sometimes, but I can also be in the moment too. But
now, speaking of that, like the writing the songs, I may be misremembering. Do I remember that you have been in some of the like challenges where you write a certain amount of songs in a certain amount of time? I thought I remember reading that quite a few years ago, actually, maybe several years ago.
There's this probably one of the greatest things for my personal creativity and songwriting ever, and I highly recommend it to anyone that's a songwriter. It's called February Album Writing Month, fom.org, and it is this community that you try to write 14 songs in 28 days of February, which to me sounded impossible. Like as an earlier songwriter, I just like, I don't know how someone could do that. But then just one year I just got the bug, and like January, like 28th, I decided I'm just going to join and do this. I'm going to just try this. It's just a very supportive community. It's very, it doesn't totally run like a social media thing where you like stuff. I mean, it's really like people kind of share. There's like little songwriting challenges, like write a song with 2 chords, write a song about electricity. Everyone's going to write a song in an hour. Here's the topic. And everyone joins in at that hour and writes and records it and then posts it, or even just writes the lyrics. It's just this super exciting community of people who are just all really cool. Like everyone's just really cool, and everyone's just all, you know, there's people who are picked up their guitar for the first time a month ago, and there's people that are writing like full-on heavy metal rock operas. There's hip-hop guys, there's punk people, it's electronic stuff. It's all over the board.
Wow.
And everyone's just really cool. Like it's just a really cool community. It's very, very non-toxic. I mean, I've been in lots of different online communities and they vary. But I've done that every year since 2008. I haven't missed a single year. I've written at least 14 songs, and that's usually a year where I'm like, I don't know, I have a kidney stone and I'm, you know, sick or something. And then the years where I'm not, I've written 30. That's your
slow year.
That's 14. A slow year. But at this point in my life, I'm sort of at a point in my life where I'm like, okay, slow down. I mean, 14 songs is pretty great. And a lot of, you know, half of those songs are total garbage that I wrote like just really quick. And then, but I'll go back to them, and they're ones that I'm like, wow, I'm putting this on an album. This is really cool. And I didn't like it the first time. And then someone would say something like, this is my favorite song. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll look at that again, because it didn't feel like that to me. That has been a huge, like that is the start of my creative year. Every year is February. Like I actually, you know, like I just look forward to February so much, and I take the day off work. If it starts on if it's on a day of the week where I'm working, I take it off and I record songs that day. And it's like, it is an important, that's an important part of my story. I think it's been like just a great community. I have so many friends and co-writers that I've met there. And the professional side, like getting into film and television, I joined a community called Taxi, which is they're kind of like an A&R company. They operate between some music supervisors and film companies and composers, and they screen songs from the composers. So they'll say, hey, we need a song like Imagine Dragons, or, you know, blah, 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 blah. Here's these 3 songs. Here's the terms of the deal. It's exclusive or non-exclusive and whatever basic stuff they want. And then there's a deadline. And I joined that and started doing it when I felt I was able to record myself enough to like, because they said, you really need to write these. You can't just take something you've already written and shove it in there. And sometimes that works. But I tried that with the Pushstart stuff, which I was so proud of, and I thought the recordings were so great, and they're really great recordings, but they didn't work. They just didn't work for what people were looking for. They're looking for a mood, for a scene. And I learned that quickly because those songs just got rejected over and over again. There's a few that have been used. Los Angeles from
that's
album.
a great song. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that one.
I love that song. That's that song. I have so many people that request that song every time. That's a popular one. Yeah. I love that. How that song. That's a great song. It's my
really
song,
is.
but I love that song.
Really is.
There's songs that I love more than others. There are children that
okay.
some of the children, they're all beautiful, but there's some.
1980s is a pretty kid, but LA is beautiful, right? It's a cute, 1980s is a cute, quirky kid, but
yes.
So
I didn't write. Yeah, the Vegas Nerve. I wrote maybe like one or two. I co-wrote. My friend George Matamala, who is he's another person who taught me. He taught me. He's the first guy who, like, I remember we went to Azusa Pacific University together. I was a music major, and I don't remember what his major was. I think he participated in music, but he wasn't a music major. But we were listening to the new U2 album had come out, Octung Baby.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like learning, he was playing the guitar, the acoustic guitar, playing these songs that were like all bass and like lead. I'm like, how are you figuring that song out? Like, I didn't understand that yet. I didn't know how you could. And he's like, you listen to the bass, and then the bass is what the chord is. That's basically like, if you're hearing a low A, then that's just probably an A chord or an A minor chord. And he just sort of taught me a few things, like little hacks and tricks for things that I just had not been aware of. And I was in his band for years. We had a band called EEG that then evolved into the Vegas Nerve. And Andy Prickett of the Prayer Chain produced the first recording by the Vegas Nerve. Like, he actually loaned us his
I didn't know
his
that.
reel-to-reel player, set it up for us at our like recording studio and gave us some help. And then he helped mix some of that record. And then Andy was actually, I had met Andy because he was the producer and mixer for Pushstart Wagon's Squeaky Clean album.
Yeah.
And that was a great experience and terrifying at the same time. Like, Gene Eugene,
I'm sure. Gene Eugene. I was going to ask about the green room.
Yeah, the green room
is it as amazing as every single?
It was amazing. It was just amazing being there. Like the art for that album, it's the Fincher, like, it's the Crazy Monument. It's sort of a greenish color, and it's got all these like text and words, and like Lost Dogs, like the Lost Dogs space album, like they had the actual model in the kitchen because they were taking pictures for it, stuff like that. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, my brain, I'm like, that was a really cool experience. It was scary because it was my first like really big, like, recording a full album, and I had done stuff. Yeah, I had never done anything quite like that. So that was really, it was fun. It was intimidating. It was cool. It was, it was a bunch of things. I remember Andy Prickett holding a tuner up because there was no auto tune. I was singing a long held out note. That was scary. And Mike Pritzel Mike Pritzel came in from the Violet Burning. So like all these people that I just looked up, people would just drop in. Mike Knott would drop in. People would just come through. It was just like a hangout, and like that was like, because they're all people that I looked up to as musicians, and still really respect a lot of the artistry those guys are involved in. Green Room was amazing, and I don't remember how that conversation started.
Well, I have all sorts of
Pushstart Wagon.
I have all sorts of questions, and we're kind of jumping ahead on some of my questions, but that's okay. That's what I want this to be, more of a chat. I did want to mention, you already mentioned, but I mentioned all the things you've done. You teach middle school.
I teach middle school.
While you're doing all that, I mean, I'm sure you probably have a little bit of summertime, maybe.
Yeah, I do.
I know teachers
I have like
work sometimes.
Yeah. I I have a solid month and a half, which I mean, no one gets that. I'm not
Hey.
complaining. It's amazing. It's a great time to recharge, and I do a lot of music, and I'm doing music all year round. But the summers is pretty great for, like I just have more energy. It's just emotional energy. Like working with students is great. I love it. But I am drained some days, I'm energized too. Kids are great. Oh my gosh, today was a school dance, and the kids were unironically, legitimately singing Sweet Caroline. The DJ, for whatever reason, a kid requested it. Junior high kids,
Nice.
all shouting that part out. It was so great. It was
awesome.
It's so good.
So good.
Man, it was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, I was like pumped, but I was exhausted. Those kids are like,
sure.
They're like,
and you've been a teacher for a long time, because I'll get to when I first encountered you personally, which you probably won't remember, but it was in the late 90s, and you were a teacher at that point, I think. Yeah, I know when I first talked to you, you were teaching.
Yeah, I've been teaching since 95, I think.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. I stopped basically, I left Pushstart Wagon. We went on tour, went to Cornerstone, did a bunch of cool shows on the way there and back. And then my wife was like, "Are you gonna be on tour all the time?" Like, we hadn't really talked about it. And I'm like, yeah, we didn't really talk about that. And then I decided to step down from the band for the time being and make sure my marriage was a priority. I have more to talk about, but
absolutely.
But I was like, I didn't stop writing music, but it just sort of changed. And it was a little weird because I had so much of myself in Pushstart Wagon. But then I started working on some solo things and like trying to learn how to use it. I got a little 4-track and just trying to like mess around and learn how to do that, and playing like little acoustic shows. My wife and I had this band called Friction Billy. We have like this Christmas record we recorded. I am so proud of that. It has like 1 million plays on Spotify.
I haven't listened
not
to
the
it
whole,
yet, but
not
I read
everything,
that.
but like we got on a playlist.
I want to dig into it. I'm like, okay, can I listen to Christmas music yet? I'm not sure.
It's a little early.
But
I don't know. We're getting close.
I don't know though. But I did read about it, and I did read that it's very it has a lot of listens, and
I love it.
That it's, I don't remember the exact words I read, but I read some things about it's different a little bit than
it's very
what's thrown out there usually. Yeah,
it's a melancholy Christmas album.
That's right up my alley. So
it's me. It's like it was my Over the Rhine, Innocence Mission, Sufjan.
Nice.
Kind of. That's what my mindset was, and in fact, one of the songs got on a playlist. It was like a Sufjani, like he was one of the songs on there, like with his Christmas stuff, and one of my songs or two of my songs were on that, and it was just like hundreds of thousands of plays, which I didn't even see till months later. I'm like, what happened? What? That was we got like a nice, like, it wasn't a lot, but we got a check that was way bigger than normal for that 1 year. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this going to be every year? And then it, that was it. It was like that 1 year, and it hasn't been on anything like that since then, but it's fine. I never would have anticipated that like ever happening anyway. So it was just kind of a cool little blip on the music.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll definitely check it out soon.
Yeah, it's
maybe I'll wait till October.
Yeah, wait till November-ish.
Yeah. So
Jimmy, where do you live? Where in
I live in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah,
what's the weather like there now? Is it still like is it hot, or it
has gotten a lot better. Now some people would call it hot, but now it's like highs of maybe 85, 86, which feels
That's what
wonderful.
We just dropped down. We were like 107, 105, 104. It was just horrible. And then there was like this kind of weird rain that we have not had much of, and then the temperatures dropped like 20 degrees. And
isn't it amazing how great mid 80s feels when you
after you've been at 10, like you complain about that at some point, but then
awesome.
when you've had 100 and you can't like, you have to cover everything in your car so it doesn't burn you when you get in your car. Yeah, I appreciate the good old 80s again. It's
yeah,
nice.
and then it's been dropping down to maybe, I think we were in the 50s one night, but I think generally it's around 60 probably, which feels great.
That's
So,
nice. Yeah,
yeah.
it felt really good. I was like sitting outside tonight. I was like, oh, this feels really good. Like it was like a little breeze and
Yeah, it was nice and cool on Tuesday at when I saw the National, which was amazing.
Oh, how was that?
Oh my gosh. It was wonderful. It was an outside venue, but not huge. And Matt Berninger was everything you would expect him to be. He was the passion and just putting everything into it, and came out in the audience, and yeah, it was great. And they don't write write any bad songs. Every song they write is good. So yeah, it was great concert.
My greatest accomplishment is that I have a song. The Mindy Project song was that song I told you about, the one that was the first one that I did with Dove Pilot, Pull Down the Sun. It's in an episode that the National are featured on. In fact, I believe Matt walks into a tent to talk to Mindy Kaling and our song, which you can only hear like a little bit of the drum beat. It's like it's playing in the festival. So I basically was opening for Matt. I like to think that I was 1 degree of separation from the National.
I'm gonna give it to you.
But yeah, thank you. That's as close as I'll get. I did record in a studio this summer that I guess Matt and Phoebe Bridgers had been in, this little studio in Santa Monica. That's all I heard. They just said, yeah, the Phoebe Bridgers and Matt were here working on something. It's a very cool studio. It's a little funky, cool, kind of hippie, but really nice, like equiment and stuff. It was fun.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
I digress. But so the National. Okay. What was the highlight of that show? What was there a favorite like?
Well, my girlfriend and I are, you jump from song to song on like what you're loving right now, right? But we really like that song Light Years. Do you know that song?
Which album?
Light Years Away. Oh shoot. It's on. I'm trying to. It's the latest one.
Light Years. Because I'm gonna go listen to that because I don't remember.
The last two I had kind of not listened to as quite as repeatedly as Boxer and
Boxer's the one that I'm most familiar
that's
and then the
my favorite one.
What's the next one? Trouble Will Find You.
I don't know. It has Don't Swallow the Cap on it. I know that, but I can't remember the name. Trouble Will Find
it's
You.
With the face. It's like the face that's cut in half or whatever.
I think it's like called Trouble Will Find You.
Yeah.
But that's pretty bad. I don't know. I can name your albums better than I can name the Nationals, but I know all.
Well, you've been studying
all the
them.
songs.
I can't name all them either. I just every time I hear them, I'm always like, "Oh, this is so good!" Like it comes on.
I was
like,
surprised. Do you maybe they're like do you know Mr. November? That's one of their early songs.
No.
Mr. No, I won't fuck us over. I'm Mr. November, and he just says it over and over again. I'm Mr. November. I won't fuck us over. But I was surprised they did that. That was like one of their really early songs.
Oh, they did that at the show. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And yeah, he came out in the audience several times, and they did a bunch off Boxer. They did Mistaken for Strangers. You would know that. They did Blood Buzz, Ohio. So. But yeah, it was great.
I'd love to see them. I know that I will like that show. I know that.
And now there's such a great show. A single out now. I think it's called Weird Goodbyes, and it's
featuring Bon Iver.
Yes, yeah. And I knew because I think
I love.
I think I read that you like Bon Iver, but Bon Iver was here too. I didn't get to make it to that one. But
see, I have not been to as many shows. This is something that I am changing in my life. Like there are a lot of changes. My album is called Transitions, and we're
gonna get into that.
It has been prophecy in my life. That's fine. I'm here to talk.
You listened to my show with Steve Hindelong, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things this is about. My podcast is like I had a whole bunch of different blogs, and it's kind of a combination of all my blogs. So there was one one on religion and black and white thinking and religion, and then there was one on transparency and being vulnerable, and then there was one that was kind of just me doing stupid funny stuff. So, and then music, and so I kind of
That's like
put it
my
all together.
albums.
So
Your vlogs are
it
like,
kind of is.
yeah, my albums are like that, like kind of experimenting with different sides. And
So
thinking about
I love opening up and being vulnerable and transparent and giving that to someone else, and they feel safe to give it back. But
yeah.
but we'll get into that a little bit. I kind of cut you off, I think, maybe.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, I'm here for that. That is a part of my life now too that I can't see not being anymore.
Yeah.
I've not that I didn't live my life transparently, but I gravitate towards people like that for sure. Those people to me are the safest people, and they're in general. I mean, I guess it's
in
there's
general.
possible. Yeah, I mean, you can have people that just overshare in a weird way, and I feel like sometimes I can be
You
that
can
person
usually
too,
tell
but
the difference, though.
yeah, there's
Uh,
it's the empathy plus, yeah, and I have, man, I tell you what, it has been the most rewarding, probably one of the most rewarding parts of my life, where I'm sharing openly and honestly with people, and then receiving that back, not giving it to expect to get it back, but very rarely does it not come back in some way, like where I'm being very real with someone about what's going on in my life, where they don't, or at some point come and talk to me because they realize that I am a safe person to talk to, because I am wounded or broken or just going through it or whatever, and just willing to be like, that's what I'm going through, like I'm generally able to answer when someone says, how are you doing? And I'm not doing well. And I'm able to say that. And when I am doing well, but I think I try to be pretty honest about it with people that I know I can do that with, sometimes even people that I don't know as well, That's something I've tried cultivating, and going and being in therapy. And I've been in Al-Anon for a while, and learning and I've been in like different recovery groups, like as part of like just like through the church. I was part of a thing called Celebrate Recovery, which is like a Christian 12-step. And then and I'm not in church anymore, and I was looking for something, and I already knew about 12-step groups and just dealing with like stuff in my relationship, and Al-Anon was amazing. It was just amazing. Just that format, which if I don't know if you've ever been into a 12-step group before, but
I have not.
But basically there's the cliche of, we sit in a circle kind of thing. I'm doing it all via Zoom. I haven't been to a in-person one in quite a while, but basically you're sitting in your circle, and someone starts off the meeting with some readings, and then everyone takes turns sharing for like a couple minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. No one comments. There's no like, oh no, I'm so sorry. It's just listening. And then they're done. And then the next person shares, and you just do a lot of listening, and hopefully you also share. And there's no advice giving. There's just like kind of, I don't know, kind of like listening and learning. It's really interesting, and it's very different. When I first started on those, it was so weird to not say something to someone when they were really upset. But then, man, it's really amazing. It's been really amazing. It's helped me not talk over things for one, and just kind of listen and let people just have their feelings. And two, it has given me mega levels of empathy for people, just from the stuff I'm going through in my life. Like I realize everyone has stuff going on that you just don't know, just below the surface.
Right.
And and they may be irritating, but they also really may be going through it. Like I just, like in the last few days, like I've just have so many friends and people who like are just going through really hard stuff, and I get it.
Yeah. I wanted to just say how I heard of Pushstart Wagon. it was around 98, I think. So the album would have been out for at
A
least 2
while.
years.
Oh yeah, it was like that
I
came out in
saw
95, I
I
think.
saw a couple different release dates, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think I must have gotten the album from one of those mail order, like Christian, where you can get like a certain amount, like 10 whatever
10 records for a penny or something.
Because it
Yeah.
started out in the 80s, right? It was like Columbia House had those
Yeah,
things.
Columbia
And
House.
then
Yep.
Christian music caught
I got
up
sucked into that
eventually.
too. I got sucked into that for a while.
And I imagine that I'm thinking that's probably where I got it, because you would go through the little catalog thing and you'd be like, okay, it sounds like whatever, and then
Yeah.
I would usually go by like the cover and the band name, and I could usually get pretty good, like, okay, that's probably a pretty cool group. Okay, so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's probably where I got it. And
Yeah, I love the cover art was pretty cool. Like they did so
yeah,
many
I was
cool
going to talk
things for
about that. Yeah. I don't know where I got your email. Maybe there was a website at that time, 98. I don't know.
Yeah, Pushstart might have still had a website. And I was like the main
Yeah.
contacty person. I was like, I would email blogs, and although in 98 I was working on solo stuff. So, but I might have used a lot of those like contact emails. Like there's a couple like websites, Phantom Toll Booth. I don't know
Yep.
if you remember that.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna read you a review from Phantom Toll Booth in a little bit.
I don't even remember that.
No, I used to
That's
read
amazing.
Phantom Toll Booth all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being really into that. I thought it was such a
Me
cool
too.
idea. It felt like it didn't feel Christian-y. Like it was just
Right.
cool. I just thought it was kind of cool. True Tunes
True
and
Tunes.
and that's still going. That's happening.
He's got
In fact,
a podcast.
we were gonna.
I've listened to
I was
quite
gonna
a
be
few of his
talking to him.
podcasts. Good.
I was going to be talking to him with some other songwriters. I don't know if it's still going to happen or not, but that was going to happen. There was like Seven Ball. There
Seven
was
Ball.
This Harvest Syndicate. There was a bunch of those kind of zines
Harvest
that were around
Syndicate.
here.
Yeah.
So I, and there were like the internet was just becoming. Things were more online. But it was still kind of really wild westy, like really long, college address website with like tildes and just all kinds of different, numerals to get to it. Searching was not as simple, but well, I'm sorry, I lost my train.
No, that's fine. Yeah, so I was just saying, I think I must have got your email, because it's not.
Oh,
it's not in
okay.
the liner notes anywhere. So I must have got
well,
it
I don't know.
online.
It might have been. It might have been.
Well, I have
in one of them.
I have my copy right.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That I got in
Georgia.
98.
Yeah,
I have
that like bottle. I have that little squeaky clean. I don't know how I ended up with one. I'm like, oh, I got to keep that. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
Made our
That's so
little 50s, 60s.
Yeah, it was mid-century. I have this a little further down in my note, but it was mid-century before the mid-century stuff got cool again, right?
Yeah. we were a little too ahead of behind our time or whatever.
Right.
So, if only we had timed it right.
If only. Yeah, that's where it all went wrong, man. No.
Just the art choices were bad.
But somehow I got your email address, and I think it was AOL, but I'm not sure.
Might have been a Juno. I had a Juno.
I remember us complaining about AOL as we were talking, so maybe it was Juno. I don't know.
That's funny.
But we messaged back and forth a little bit about different bands, and I was pretty intrigued because, I was listing off bands like the Replacements and the Pixies and the Church and Concrete Blonde and Pavement, and you
Pavement and Replacements were some of my all-time, some of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. But anyway, so that was how I discovered Pushstart Wagon, and then that was how I met you. And then it kind of stuck with me, even through emailing, your personality as an open, friendly person. So that's why we're here today.
I've changed. That's so funny.
Well, it's true though.
That's great.
We're going to take a little break between segments. We ran into a little technical difficulty thanks to my newbiness. Is that a word, newbiness? It is now. Thanks to my newbiness, we ran into a little technical difficulty and we had to start another recording session for our call. But we're going to take this opportunity for me to read a review from the Phantom Toll Booth that Steve and I were speaking of. So the Phantom Toll Booth was a website that would review various albums. A lot of them were Christian albums, but a lot of them were fringe Christian albums. It was a really cool website, and it was a favorite among those of us who were listening to a lot of Christian music and secular music at the same time, kind of living in both worlds. And we appreciated that Phantom Toll Booth would review albums that weren't necessarily Christian, but had a lot of spirituality and or a lot of meaning to the lyrics in the music. So when Pushstart Wagon came out with their second album, LA Was Our Alamo, in 2005, there was a couple reviews on the Phantom Toll Booth website. Typically, they would have a couple different reviews by different people who would rate albums 1 to 5. And this particular reviewer, his name is Scott Lake, and he did this review in April of 2005. And I believe he gave the album 3 out of 5 stars or whatever they give on Phantom Toll Booth. I can't remember what they are, but he gave it a 3 out of 5. But I think he really completely missed the point of the album. And his review is kind of representative of a lot of Christians at the time listening to albums that they expected to be Christian. So I'm just going to read his review here. Quote, "The first track, entitled Paul, includes a lyric which will likely put off many Christian listeners. Jesus wouldn't buy you no smokes. He wouldn't laugh at your off-color jokes. The treatment of Christ as a sort of cartoon or some other fictional character is irreverent at best. Why is it that so many bands poke this kind of mistreatment about Christ? It's not an evil reference, just a reference that puts Jesus into a much smaller role than what he really meant to history. Guster does something similar in their Jesus on the Radio, He Took a Photograph of Me lyric. Why don't bands use Gandhi in these lyric settings? It's the same number of syllables. One ends up singing these irreverent lyrics to him or herself instead of word of praise to Jesus. And that's not territory one should find themselves in." The reviewer goes on to say a bit later, "From a Christian perspective, there is limited content here that causes soul-searching or edification," unquote. Well, I think the review focuses on the context of this being a Christian album by a Christian band. And I don't think Pushstart Wagon at the time or even previously intended to be a Christian band or intended to put out a Christian album. Furthermore, the reviewer seems to completely miss the entire Westerberg Replacements reference, which the lyrics, "Jesus wouldn't buy you no smokes, he wouldn't laugh at your off-color jokes," is actually from a Replacements song. Those are their lyrics, lifted from the song Can't Hardly Wait. And I quote, "Jesus rides beside me. He never buys any smokes. Hurry up, ain't you had enough of this stuff? Ashtray, floors, dirty clothes, and filthy jokes." So they were just referencing some lyrics from a Replacement song. They weren't trying to minimize Jesus in any way or make him a cartoon character. But like so many other reviewers among the Christian culture at the time, they were looking at every album to be some sort of edification of Christ or the Christian culture and were willing to throw art to the wayside with the goal of speaking nothing but the Christian message. Let's listen to Paul by Pushstart Wagon.
If I had just one chance, this is what I'd say. Looking away, 30 years of saying some other day, and you never thought you'd be the replacement. You said Jesus wouldn't buy you no smokes, he wouldn't laugh at all your off-color jokes, but you keep coming back like a hearse Cadillac to the funeral home that you took out on loan. All the lights in your van, like a hearse Cadillac to the funeral home. And you took it on the no, heart's too hard. You can't break it in two. And when it breaks, and you come unglued. Where do you think you're going? Where are you coming from? Who will you be tomorrow? Who were you last night? Where do you think you'll get off? So you might as well just give in. So you might as well just give in. 'Cause you're never gonna get away. No, heart's too hard. You can't break it in two. And when it breaks, and you come unglued. No, heart's too hard. You can't try and stop it. Like a rolling stone. No, heart's too
Hey there, I just wanted to take an opportunity to once again thank those of you who have been listening all along and welcome those of you who maybe have wandered into this podcast. I always knew that if I built it, they wouldn't necessarily come, but maybe a few would wander in by accident. So if you're wandering in by accident or on purpose, I welcome you. Thank you so much for being here, for listening this far into the episode. And thank you very much to those who have been listening all along. There are many more to come. I guarantee it. You have that guarantee from Jimmy James S. Butler. It means a lot. Now let's jump back into Stephen and I's conversation.
And now we return you to our regular scheduled program in progress.
Got it.
There we go.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've made something really cool that I forgot to record.
Just like,
How sad I was when that happened. So sad.
I'm sure. So sad. So I'm just trying to get my thoughts together where we were. Good thing I had some wine to take it all in stride.
It was for. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Something I probably wouldn't have had when I first got squeaky clean.
Yep.
Things
I
change.
remember
Okay.
someone talking to me about that. There was a guy, he was in another band. His name was Kevin. He was on the label.
Kevin
or he-
Max.
maybe-
I'm just kidding.
It wasn't Kevin Max.
Just
It
kidding.
wasn't Kevin Max. It wasn't Kevin Max. What was his band name? He was really cool. He had a really cool record that came out around that time. And he's all, oh yeah, squeaky clean. And like he had interpreted it as like talking about like kind of Christians and being really like, and I really wasn't the original thought. The title didn't have like a super deep meaning. It was more like we were like totally like the cheesy 50s, 60s ding, you know, just
I was
like
going to ask that same question.
there wasn't a huge significance on that that record title. It was more like the vibe of that sort of, I don't know, 50s lounge stuff. I don't know, something like that. That was sort of whole thought process that went into that title. I mean, now looking back, there's other, possible other significances to that, but and art can be like that,
Yeah, absolutely.
You do
It's
it
just
one
like
way
you
and
can
it's
write a song.
subconscious.
Yeah, and someone, the listeners can get something other than what you intended.
Right, they assign a
Happens all the
meaning to
time.
it. Absolutely, they assign a meaning to it that was not intended or whatever. I am so happy if someone has listened to my song that I do not care how they interpret. I mean, I guess if like Donald Trump picked up my song and really thought that it was like his like theme song or something, I guess I would be. I might have.
And use it for his next campaign.
Maybe there's some lines where I would be not okay with it, but in general, I'm so excited if someone has heard a song and it meant anything to them in any way. It's like, it's an honor every single time. It floors me. It's like, I love that. I want to connect with people. I want them to get something out of a song I've written, that it makes them feel something or want to change something or just validates something in their life. Like that is, I don't know. I mean, I feel like most songwriters I know would want to connect. Like we write songs to connect. We write also for catharsis, just to like get things out. I feel so cheesy when I say it. My therapist says, I talked about my music and she's like, you really process things through your songs and like a lot of your like stuff that you're going through. And I'm like, I guess I do. And I mean, I sort of understand that, but then she was challenging me to like write songs about certain things. I'm like, I guess I should, I should write something about that.
Kind of like journaling with music. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I do, but yeah, it's really interesting. And I definitely see, it's so weird. I know we're going to get more into it, but my new album is like, I feel like I'm singing to myself. It's so weird listening to it, like, and it's like hitting me. Like there are a few songs where it's hard to get through sometimes, like, cause it just, it's hitting me, in ways that I did not anticipate even when I was recording it,
yeah,
that's life is
amazing.
It is really amazing. It's really amazing how that works. And like how that, like someone listening to a song, there are bands and movies and books that like I couldn't read as a kid or as a teenager or even as a young adult. And now when I see it or read it or hear it, it hits me in such a different way than it ever did. Okay. I went to see Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Joan Jett, and Poison.
I want to say, Poison was the other one. They came through here too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So look, of all those bands, look, I got invited by a friend. That's not a show I would have gone to. I listened to those bands when I was younger, but they're not like my core music at all. But of all the bands in that list, Poison is like the least, to me, the most like floppiest, just junk. But one, the lead singer was so cool that I instantly loved them. Like he was just a cool person. He just seemed very genuinely appreciative that we were there. Like I've heard people say, thanks for being here tonight, but like I felt he meant it. For whatever reason, it hit me. And then when they played Every Rose Has Its Thorn, I was crying. And it hit me so different. And it's so weird because I would totally make fun of that song all the time.
Right.
So cheesy. But man, at a different point in my life, that hit me like in a totally different way. I mean, there's much deeper songs by, I don't know, Sufjan or Bon Iver that I'll be destroyed by. But like all of a sudden I'm in this stadium and crying to Every Rose Has Its Thorn. And that was a weird moment. And Motley Crue sucked. They were horrible. They were like basically just reliving their glory days. Yeah, they were not good. Their Home Sweet Home was amazing. They could manage to play through that whole song. And they did a cover of this like jock rock song that I don't even know what it's called, but it's like hey, it sounds like a Black Keys song. It's not the Black Keys song. It's like but they did it really well. And that everything else was bleh. But yeah, so it's I am amazed how songs can mean different things to different people at different times, be complete like a whole like it just wasn't meant to be that, but it becomes that for somebody because they assign meaning to it from their own experience. And I think before it would have maybe some of that would have bothered me, that you're like not understanding my song. And now I am like, man, I hope you care enough to try to understand my song. Makes me very happy. That like it did anything for you, that you listened to it enough that it impacted you in any way is like beyond honor. You know, it feels like it feels like I'm being known by somebody.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
which
Someone
is-
seeking to know you.
Yeah.
And understand you.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that people, when they connect with songs, also feel known. Like they feel like someone has understood
absolutely.
them, you know, and express something. Oh man, there's like I don't know the name of the song. I'm gonna look. There's a Phoebe Bridgers song that so I heard it and it's just like it makes me want to cry, like just talking about it. I'm gonna look it up anyway.
I don't know too
and-
many. I know she's the one that
Man.
sings the emotional motion sickness or
Yeah,
something.
motion
It's called.
sickness.
Motion
She has a
sickness,
song
yeah.
called
I know that
Kyoto
one.
that is it's amazing. And her album Punisher is really, really, really good. But and I don't like, and it's like I feel like I know a lot of artists and I don't know like everything about them or every song, or like I haven't memorized all the lyrics. Like I feel bad sometimes that I don't know all those
Yeah.
things. Okay, she has a song called Chinese Satellite, and I can't even talk about it.
You-
Man, it
Yeah.
like talks about like it, to me it's got like what I've gone through with deconstruction and my faith.
Mhm.
Like and maybe it's just because I was in that place when I heard it too.
Yeah, it's a big part of it sometimes.
Yeah, it is. You know, like just like even like songs that I love from being a kid, like that come back to me, like the entire 77s, you know, Sticks and Stones and they're self-titled and
Yeah.
like those records, like I still listen to them. They're so good. They're so powerful. But yeah, this song Chinese Satellite, man, it like rocked me. I don't know, it's just like the emotional tenor of the song, but also the lyrics. There's a line about the evangelicals yelling at them outside of a show or something. And I was like, that might have been me at one point.
I could have been that
in my early days.
Yeah.
And now I am the one that is probably being yelled at by the evangelicals
Right.
going by whatever situation, because I stand so polar opposite to many, I would say mainstream, you know, evangelical circles.
Yeah.
And the fact that I can even talk about that, like, I don't even think a year ago I could have easily talked about it. But I had been in transition for a while, you know, for a while.
Yeah. When you look
but-
back, you see maybe some of the transition you were in that you didn't realize at the time. At least that's how my journey has been.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I look back, I'm like, okay, I didn't realize it, but that it was taking place, you know, even 20 years ago, there were different things that, you know.
Oh yeah. 2015 is around the time that it started happening for me. And I look, and it's funny because talking about my therapist and songwriting and stuff, I've been doing live streams semi-frequently. I went really hard like for a couple weeks, but I was doing like every night I was doing like a live stream, just like playing through like all my song, like just I had stacks of songs that I hadn't played in years, or that I had never played live, that I unrecorded, or stuff from my albums, and I was just playing through it, and I found this song that I love. I really love it. I might play it for you. It's called Cosmic Soda Machine, and it was like I wrote it in 2001, and it was like the question is, are you just my soda machine, my cosmic soda machine? I'll just stick a quarter in you, shiny and new, to see what you'll do. My cosmic soda machine. And it was like, is God my like, I'm trying to get something out of the machine, you know, like this transactional relationship. And then is that what it is? Is it that? And and that was from 2001. And I mean, I wouldn't have, I definitely was thinking about things like, even on my, like my wife and I's Christmas album, it's called The Silent Night by Friction Bailey. I'm super proud of that album. My friend Ben, who was in Pushstart Wagon, produced it, mixed it, and it's beautiful. And there's a song on there called Christ the Child King, which has got a lot of questions in it too, like really, really like kind of heavy theological kind of questions. And so I think I've always been a creative person, and I'm so fucking pretentious to say I'm an artist, like it's hard for me to say that like without like laughing sometimes. But I think I am an artist. I am a musician, and I've done that and tried to do my heart on my sleeve and do different creative things. But yeah, I look back and go, oh my gosh, was I deconstructing in 2001? I don't know. There are definitely questions I had, and I was really involved in church, like 100% dedicated, sold out for Jesus. I took my Bible everywhere, read through it so many times. I've read cover to cover through my Bible. Went to Bible college, did all the things, prayed, thought, I tried to live that life for a very long time. And I do believe that a lot of what I learned is still a part of me and is something that I hold. There are so many good things, I think, that are a part of what I am. I question if that's God or not, or if that's just who I am or who I've become. And I would identify myself as an agnostic. Like I feel like I don't believe in God, but I don't believe that it's impossible. And in fact, I would say I didn't want to go through deconstruction. I did not want to lose my assurance in heaven. I did not want that. It still hurts me, the thought that maybe heaven isn't real. Like, I want that to be real. I think that sounds amazing. I just don't know if it is, and there was a time where I was so self-assured, like Beatles, help. I was so sure of myself and so sure that I knew. I don't know if I was ever 100% sure. Like, I feel like people like, that you know, and I'm like, I don't know if I know that I know. I mean, I think I know, like even as a kid like that, I remember like rededicating my life.
Rededications.
A million times.
Yeah.
I asked Jesus into my heart so many times, and I thought I never did it right, or I didn't do it with the right motive, I think I had the exact right motive over and over again, but I judged that because maybe I didn't feel something. Sometimes I did feel something, and that's why I went down, or I saw other people going down. I'm like, I don't want to go to hell. Like, there was a lot of fear of hell, a lot of fear of judgment,
a lot of fear of hell.
Yeah. And I mean, now I look back and I'm like, man, that felt like a real controlling way. And it doesn't feel like a healthy relationship to me. That, this relationship is predicated on you not going to hell, or come to heaven to get the good stuff, or you're going to go to hell. So you might as well decide. I don't know. It feels like a threat to me. And I could talk about that for a lot. But I'm in a place where I'm comfortable in my unbelief, maybe not disbelief, maybe more unbelief. But also accepting, because I have many dear friends that are believers, and I know that some of that for me is tied up in the political climate of the last 7 years. But it is not because of Donald Trump that I'm not a Christian anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck that guy, but sorry, everybody.
That's
You're a big Donald Trump fan listening to this. Fuck Biden too. Fuck them both. I don't believe any.
You're an equal opportunity.
I don't. Yes.
It's a bipartisan.
I think Biden is the light years ahead of Donald Trump as a human being, and basic compassion. And there's a lot of stuff that I don't trust him any more than I trust a lot of politicians. But my deconstruction, part of it was seeing the church tied in and locked in to something that felt really not what I understood Jesus to be. Was really, man, I couldn't abide it. I didn't want to call myself a Christian. I'm like, I am not associated with that. I'm not associated with that. And then when we had COVID and the Black Lives Matter movement and the Me Too movement and there's a host of things that occurred where I was like, I would see Jesus being here on this issue, and all of a sudden it's like I felt like I just didn't know anything, you know. And I didn't have like this horrible traumatic church experience where I felt like I was being abused spiritually or in any way. I look back and I think some of the teachings they're problematic. I think telling a child they're going to be eternally tortured, eternal conscious torment I think that's abusive. I think teaching children that is abusive. And I understand that, like, but it's a loving God and he's giving us a choice. And I'm like, well, he made us this way and he predestined it, but we have free will, but we were made that some of us would choose to go to hell. Also, cancer ward, children's cancer ward. Okay. And I remember making fun of people that said that when I was in church, like, you can't blame God for that because they choose. Well, kids didn't choose to get cancer. And that's oversimplifying why I'm, not in the church anymore.
Yeah.
But there are things like that where I'm like, yeah, that is problematic. And before I would have dismissed that and just been like, well, Jesus he'll take care of that or whatever. And I don't know. And I still love songs about Jesus. I still connect with some of these, like the 70s, like that 77s record, the self-titled record.
That's my favorite one.
It's so good. It's so good. And it's so funny that hearing Mike Rowe say that he didn't like that record. But I was
Which
like,
one did he
what?
not like? The Sticks and Stones?
He didn't like
or
the self-titled record.
Oh wow.
That
was
really
life-changing for me.
Me too.
Wow.
And Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
And
I think they came out the same year. They were both on Island.
Yeah, that's why they got tanked, basically.
Yeah, I know. Right.
That, just the budget went to U2. And I love U2 also, and
yeah, that's an amazing
so
record,
there's stuff like that really still resonates with me because I think it was really honest.
Oh, me too.
And that's why, it resonates with me. And I think those are the things that hold up. I mean, not that, I don't know. There's songs that are just, I don't know. There's pop songs that are just pop songs that hold up because they're just they have catchy melody. I mean, the first half of the Beatles catalog might have been like that. So when I left the church, I honestly, it was probably during the last year where I was comfortable saying, I'm not a Christian anymore. I'm an agnostic. I don't believe in God necessarily. I don't believe he's not there. But like feeling able to say that without like just breaking down or just feeling like I couldn't say it, if I learned anything in recovery groups, it's one of the sayings is you're only as sick as your secrets. And I found that to be pretty true. If there's something that's so horrendous that I can't say it to anybody, it's like, it's like this, it's held over my head, and it's like controlling me. And by being able to speak it out loud, it relieves the fear, the pressure. When I started telling friends, I don't know if I believe in God anymore, it was devastating to say it out loud. It was devastating. But the more I said it, the more I was able to like accept that that's something that my brain was telling me, regardless if it's true or not. I don't know. I certainly don't claim to hold any sort of universal truth. that's like the Bible. Like, I don't believe the Bible is the inerrant word of God. It's written by a bunch of guys who wanted to be in power, some of them. I'm sure I think there's a lot of really great teaching in there. And there's some super problematic bullshit in there that has been justified because someone said this is the inerrant word of God, which, as I understand it, that teaching, inerrant word of God, is a very, very, very new to the scene.
Versus the early church.
Yeah. And there's quite a few things like that have come up, like even like the use of the word homosexual in the Bible, how that was used, and how when it was first translated, I think it was like 1940 something, where they took, it was a word that was meant for like someone who molests children, and that was what the word, then it was used, that word, and has been used like the other way ever since, and wasn't intended or wasn't even supposed to have been translated that way. And so there's things like that.
Which in the 1940s, if you were a homosexual, that meant you molested children.
Right. And
in following decades, it was still, that was the viewpoint, right?
Right. And so
but no wonder it was interpreted that way.
yeah. And
I get a lot of what you're saying. I mean, I'm in the same place, so I get it. I get a lot of what you're saying, and I think our timelines were pretty similar on as far as leaving the Christian faith. I didn't have it. I was in a church that was a community church, and I still have a ton of friends. My best friends go there. I don't go there anymore, but I was really involved, in the drama team and stuff like that. And it was just a progression of me questioning. I've always questioned things, but it was a progression of me questioning things more and more. And the political climate definitely didn't cause it, but definitely helped support me thinking, yes, I'm going the right direction.
You're like,
so
you're like worlds apart.
Yeah.
Felt like it. Sure.
And it got kind of like you're saying, it got easier the more I let the stuff go and like vocalized some of the things I was thinking and feeling and not believing. And I would say that the LGBTQ, that was a big thing for me. I've got kids, and if you have a gay child or whatever, it starts to reframe what you believe and what you think, and you start to think about these things more. I did before too, but so that was a big impact. But a lot of it was the stuff you're talking about, the inerrancy of the Bible, and God makes this clay piece to be destroyed, and he makes this one to be used, and it's like, wait a minute, like a lot of this stuff just doesn't add up. And and in the misogyny in the Bible is just, it's just off the charts. So I understand why you're going on and on, because when you come out of that, it's almost like there's such a level of relief that you're like, you talk about it a lot. It's like you're spilling out like all these things that you're relieved to be free of now. So,
oh my gosh, I can just sin all I want now. It's great. I think that's funny.
Christians can do that too.
Yeah, they can.
And all you got it because there are once you're saved, you're always saved.
That's right. I've seen the accusation. It's funny. There's a couple people I follow that I found. One is Queen of the Heathens is her name on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. And then Deconstruction Girl. Yeah, there's one other guy. I really love his stuff. He doesn't post very frequently, but and they were this, like, I don't know why the algorithm, I'm sure the algorithm figured out that I was deconstructing or something, and threw one of these in front of me, and it was like, Queen of Heathens is just this she has an amazing brain, and she grew up in the church, and she knows the Bible better than anybody that I know better than me, and I know the Bible pretty well, but I was never like a diving into all the theology and the apologetics. Like I've done some of that for sure. I went to Christian college. I studied the Bible as part of my degree. But man, when she was speaking and sharing about things that like I was like, wait, what? Oh my gosh, this is like, it was hitting me, and I was agreeing with it and felt like, should I be agreeing? I don't feel like I know if I'm allowed to agree to this, you know? And then as I heard it more, it just like, oh my gosh, I think this is true. I think I have been indoctrinated. I have been like programmed. I need to deprogram some, you know, and figure out what I got. And then probably my favorite person through deconstruction who became my like Sunday morning sermon was Sarah Silverman.
I love Sarah
I
Silverman.
love.
Did you ever watch her show?
Yes,
That was
America, whatever that
yes.
was. Sarah Silverman
Yeah.
Loves America. I remember
Yeah.
like I think it was the first episode had this insane like naked couple in the front row or something, and I'm like, but it also had like so much good stuff that I know she did that. I understand why people do this. It's like to clear out people. It's like if you can't handle this,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get all this other stuff. So here I go. And I think it's just a big, you know, I think she's just like middle finger, you know.
Yeah.
But I love her because I also know she loves people. She loves people. She cares about people and wants to bridge. And I saw her doing things that I'm like, I thought only Christians could do that, you know, like change people's lives with love.
Yeah.
And she's like a total, she calls herself a godless Jew. She's like an atheist. And I just listened to her and her podcast and just, you know, and there was stuff that made me really uncomfortable because of how I was raised, like hearing like really open sexual conversations was like really difficult for me to like hear initially. Now I'm like, yeah, oh, that's like, I think about these things. I'm glad
Like,
you're
give me
saying
more.
these
No,
things.
just
Yeah, honestly, yes. And it's been, I felt so like all that freedom that I was supposed to have in Christ. I feel a huge freedom without Christ, which is so feels. I'm not saying that to be like mean to people that are Christians either. I am just speaking my truth, which also sounds super cliche. I'm speaking my truth.
I'm speaking my truth.
It's like you're making up your own truth. Like I didn't leave Christianity so I could go out and like do all the things that I didn't get to do because I was in church. That is not the fucking reason I left the church. I left the church because I was 100% all the way in. And no matter how much I pushed and questioned, I could not answer those questions. And my brain and my heart were telling me something is wrong. And I followed that because I wanted to be genuine and honest. And I followed that where I could. And where it led me was not the church and not the Bible and not Christianity. And maybe I'll come back around in some weird way. I don't know. I don't presume to know. Like things that I used to like just dismiss, like Buddhism or Hinduism or Muslim beliefs or any other religious faith that I would just dismiss. Now I'm like, well, maybe they all have like the three blind men who are feeling the elephant, and there's one who feels the tail and says an elephant is wispy and thin. Another one's got his arms around the trunk. It's like, it's thick and large. Another one feels the tusk to say it's sharp and pointy and hard. Now I think, well, if there is a God, everyone's got this tiny little itsy bitsy little fraction of what God is, if God is anything. And I am open to that. I'm in a recovery group where every day they say, God, grant me the serenity, you know, and I, you know, we talk about higher power a lot, and like that can be anything you want it to be. And so that is peace. That gives me a sense of peace because I'm like, I don't believe that God, you know, I don't think I believe that God is real, but I do believe there's something bigger than me somehow, in some way. I hope. I want that. I want that there to be something, but I also don't want to be delusional and like want some just because I want it, that, you know, I can want things all I want, but that's not going to make it true. I want to be true. You know, that's probably my life goal, is to just be true and honest with myself ultimately, because that's all I can control is myself.
It's hard to do sometimes.
It
Be
is
honest
hard
with
to
yourself.
do. It's really hard to do. Having a non-judgmental listener really helps with that, which is why I gravitate to people that are honest. And therapy is amazing. I've finally found, like, I've done different counseling things, and over the years I had like a panic attack in 2008 where I thought I was having a heart attack. I was in Sizzler. It was very on brand that I would be having a heart attack, but it turns out
In
I was
Sizzler.
I was in Sizzler eating steak, and I'm like, I'm definitely having a heart attack.
I did read about 2008, your 2008 panic attack, but it did not contain the information that you were in Sizzler.
I mean, that should be the lead line. Man dies in Sizzler of heart attack, but it wasn't a heart attack. It was, they said, "Are you anxious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm having a heart attack." And they're like, "Nah." And I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "You should talk to somebody." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Okay."
But that's
and
what it feels like, right?
It felt like a heart attack.
I've never experienced
my
it, but
arm
I've
was
known
tingly,
enough
and my
people
chest.
Yeah.
I had kind of a pain in my chest, and now I recognize it. So if and when it happens, I really mostly know. I just need to breathe, calm down. You know.
Can
That
I
really
ask
helps.
you, like, what do you have any idea, what triggered that, or was it just accumulation?
I mean, I
of things,
was like in like 3 bands. I
Okay.
was doing a master's degree. Both of my wife and I were doing master's degree. We had young children. I mean, we were doing I was doing too much. I was doing too much. I was living like a 20-year-old, but I was, 30 whatever,
Not 20.
and not 20, or maybe I was living like a 12-year-old. I don't know. I was just doing everything, trying to do everything, and it was too much. It was too much. But I lost my, okay, so I will lose my train of thought because I'm super ADD.
No problem. I'll
What
do the
was
same thing.
What was the initial?
We were all over. We were
all over.
We got deep into
Deconstruction,
which
yeah.
I had buried down lower.
Well, my album
but that's okay.
My album is a big part of that. My
That's
album
where I have it
is
buried.
my deconstruction for sure.
But I love talking about it, so I'm not.
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
sorry it
me
got brought up
too.
earlier.
It's healing to talk about it. It removes the stigma for me. And most people that I mean, honestly, most people I talk with, Christians, non-Christians, atheists, agnostics, I found just by being very like real about it, there's, I had people on Facebook, it's mostly on Facebook, where they would see me post something and just send me like an apologetics, like just I just wouldn't read the whole thing. I'd start and I'd be like, nah, I'm not even, like, they're throwing scriptures at me to convince me to believe in scripture, which doesn't work on someone who doesn't believe in the scripture and doesn't think it's valid or inerrant or God breathed or whatever. Like,
That's circular, like a circular reasoning.
Yeah, it's a circular logic that it just isn't going to work for me. Like, you can't talk me out of this with Bible verses at this point. I know these Bible verses,
And the fact that you feel like you need to is exactly why I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not part of that.
Yeah. And it was,
you're an example.
And I feel,
I'm sure they're well-meaning, but
they are. I know they care about me. Like, I got a high school teacher who was a Christian, and I was involved in the Christian club and the Christian radio station. His name's John Smaby. In fact, I hung out with him like last weekend and love that guy, and talking music, and like a couple of the guys that worked at the radio station were all talking about music we like now and just catching up on life, and all people who I know to be super non-judgmental and have gone through lots of things in their lives and are able to hear hard things from people and accept as I am, which is the kind of people I want to be around,
Right.
I don't have enough years left in my life to spend a lot of time trying to convince anybody to be my friend,
And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. I urge you to check back in within a couple of days. I will have part 2 of my conversation with Stephen Wesley Guiles dropping. We'll continue our discussion of religion and faith deconstruction, as well as delving into Stephen's latest album, Transitions, where we talk about his desire to love, have peace, and share hope with others. In the meantime, you can search out Stephen's music on Spotify and Bandcamp, and you can find him on all of the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, under his name, Stephen Wesley Guiles, and under Mr.G. We're going to let Los Angeles by Pushstart Wagon take us out today. Until next time, fellow Earth babies, peace to you. Take care.
Los Angeles, she's a lady, all dressed up for a riot, with a hand on the remote control. She's flipping stations, watching car chases, watching car chases. Seattle, she's lonely, waiting in the northern woods, soaking wet and green, drinking caffeine. Open wide as she breathes.